Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Prajakta, and I'll be your host for the duration of this event conducted by Hackin ITR 4.0, which is the largest student run hackathon in Eastern India. It was put together by a large group of tech enthusiasts from Google Developer Students Club, NIT Rourkela, and OpenCode. Before we get started, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. We have an exciting lineup of topics planned, and I am confident that you will find this webinar to be both informative and engaging. For today's evening, we have with us Mr. Sohail Pathan, Developers for Developers, ultimate goal of building leaner applications faster. Today's webinar is focused on the topic to build leaner applications utility as a service, and we will be exploring more on it. Our esteemed speaker will be sharing his insights and experiences, and we will have plenty of time for questions and discussions throughout the session. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn something new. So without further ado, let's get started. Sohail sir, the virtual stage is all yours.
Hello and very good evening to all of you here. Uh, Thank you, Hack and IITR 4.0 team, for inviting me and to see the developers from institutes coming. I think Project have already introduced me, so I would like to move forward with my slides today. I hope I can share my screen. Okay, Prajakta, if you're there, can you help me with setting up my screen, dude? All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So, a very good evening again. So today, I really want to give you some great methodologies and as well as and yeah, what's Appy Hub basically, right? So I believe everyone is a developer here. Can someone just cheer up for the developers because I love developers a lot. The people who are actually going to change the way how digital world looks. So first of all, clap for every one of them, and encouragement for whoever coming up with their ideas and making imagination implementable here. All right. So thank you so much. Today we're going to learn about utility as a service. Okay, uh, this sounds weird, right? I mean, what's that? We have heard about application as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, right? What this new paradigm in the cloud computing world is on the verge, right? And how it's gonna help the people to build application more faster, more reliable, and as well as making developers, empowering developers, being all time efficient, right? So with that, let's go ahead and okay. So yeah. So about me, guys. Hi, this is Sohail, and I'm a developer advocate at Appy Hub. You can meet my cat. Her name is Bella. You see that we basically hate each other. So yeah, that's all. My life hovers around code, community, and content at Appy Hub. That's what I do on my daily basis. So if someone wants to know what developer advocates do, yeah, their life, somewhere they play with these three verticals, right? And you can definitely reach out to me on my Twitter. I'm available in most of the social media platforms. So we're going to look about how exactly utilities are. I think most of you have heard about what utility is, and today we're going to get a deep down to understand how utility means for in developing software applications, right? So the agenda will take you from utilities, how the tradition has been there, how developers, you can say from the ages, using utilities in their applications. And being also you are the one who are going to participate in the hackathon, and also you might be going to develop utilities for one of your use cases. So yeah, this might be a catch. This might be help you to more concentrate on you can say solving the business logic rather than building the APIs. All right, so let's go ahead with that. We'll cover everything, and I'll at the end I would love to tell you how AppHub is solving this you can say problem. So when we say utilities, right? The utility is a very fuzzy definition. Like uh, in general perspective as well, the activity that we do very frequently, we call it utilities. Right? Uh, uh, Maybe you can say writing the just name in the way when you buy a new book, you write your name on the very front pages. Okay, that is the one utility we can say that, right? Which we do on the daily frequently, right? And as well as in the daily basis, if you do multiple stuff, we call it, this is the utility activities, right? But it's in the general term, like it's in the non-tech term. But when it comes to in the technical term, the task an application has to do very frequently, okay, and developer has to build this kind of logics, we call it utility activities. Okay. The We can say when we classify a utilities, so utilities, we'll try to give you an example over here. Let's say if you are building an e-commerce application, there are some things uh, that called as an atomic operations. Like these are the stuff that you have to do at any cost. Okay. And these tasks get categorized in the three different verticals. So if we consider the you can say example of e-commerce application, uh, you in the generation vertical, you create invoices. Let's say someone is buying an object or maybe appliances, you have to give the invoices as well. When we say the photos of, like, how these applications look, we call it as a thumbnail as well, right? So these are the part when you an e-commerce applications take the invoices and atomic operation, and these are the stuff which you will need very frequently. Okay. On the second vertical, you can say a user has to get an invoice through the emails. All right. So validation of an email also needed, or you can say the email sending also needed. So when you send an email, it's also a utility activity, right? So you can say in validation domain, you see where are you validating email, where you are validating name, when you are validating pan sometimes, right? These are the activities we call it as a utilities as well. And in the conversion vertical, so like you have made the invoices, you have validated everything, and now you have to send that invoice to the user, right, to the customer. So how would you gonna send it? You'll make it in the PDF form, and yeah, maybe in the PDF form, or maybe in the JPG form, maybe in the doc form. But you need this kind of activities at each stages. And when we call it an atomic operation, this is like non transferable, or we can say non restrained kind of activities, right? So when we go through this whole process, you get to know that the utilities are very essential. So that's why you see in the board, it's essential, and it actually varied on the very frequency within an application. So I believe you might be gonna use, or you might be gonna build an application which is going to be for the student databases, right? Let's say for the library management as well, right? So you need all this utilities application to make your application run very you can say in a very perform manner, or you can say not in any kind of restrictions. Okay. So these are, but currently we'll look upon as a developer, how are we using this utility kind of thing. Okay. So since this is a very handy thing, you have to develop it. So there are two ways in which you basically try to implement utilities on your application. Okay. So we are the developers, we always try to find out the way. We don't want to do anything from the very scratch. but we definitely want to find out easy to use things which can be where I don't have to invest a lot of time and cost, right? So in the very first preference, you if you don't find your own use case, you always try to build yourself. Okay, so anything you can consider. If you don't find on the external libraries, if you are even a web developer or maybe Android developer, you always try to go find, okay, is this kind of libraries exist? If it is, then how can I use it? Okay, so the one thing, you either build yourself, but you can say every preference have their pros and cons as well. Okay, so we'll look upon, uh, if you try to build by yourself, what things come in your hand. Okay, so this libraries, first of all, you invest your time. Okay, the time consuming stuff, this is very small chunk of application but also very essential. So what you do is you always try to build yourself so that it can basically manage your use cases. Okay, you don't need to be trust on anyone. But as well as, since let's say you have just built that library for one task, okay, and then another task come which actually depends on the first task, right? So what always you want to do, okay, you try to scale the use cases, okay, and try to do things in the very first, you can say, in the very single thing. All right, we call it, I guess, monolithic, right? So you always try to do everything in the very, in, you can say, a single package. Okay, but let's say there is just one another task. Let's say 10 tasks came. So what? Now you have to, you can say, edit the utility according to your use cases. Which that does that mean time consuming as well, and as well as it takes your maintenance. You have to invest a lot of time. Okay, now we got to know, okay, the pro is I can see whatever the use cases of mine, I can use this through building by myself. And okay, but what if I am getting it from someone else? Because we are the developers, we use someone else code. Okay, in college times, people tell that not to plagiarize, but in the real world, that's how it works, right? So you come up with an external library, kind of ally comes to you in the hand. So if you are a web developer, you go on npm.js, depend on what package manager you have available as per the language stacks, right? So but okay, you find it out on github maybe, or you can say you find it out on your npm.js, and you need library for JS. Okay, that works, people have developed for the JS. But what if you are developing an application in Golang? Here's another limitation, right? So the tech stack limitation part here, you again have to find out whether there is an alternative or not, and if not, you will again go back to build by yourself. Okay, uh, that's actually a huge cost, and as well as time, you're putting a lot of efforts here. Okay, and once somebody have made it, and if it's not benefit for them, what they do is they just make it unmaintained projects, abandon the projects. That's what developer do. Yeah, right. You might be starting out. A lot of people have a resolution of, hey, I'm going to build this application on the very first January. So they might have bought the domains, they might have made the repository, but what, after 5 days the repository is still blank. Okay, that's how the developers are, we can say, kind of choosy and lazy. But somewhere we try to focus on where are we getting the maximum output, right? So if it's an unmaintained and abandoned projects, maybe a library, it does come with some vulnerabilities as well, and it might not able to cater your task. Okay, so we got to know that how the traditional process of getting the library is right now. You build by yourself, and you either, if you don't want to, you try to see from other side, and that's how you embed your utilities in your applications. Okay, so we got to know this. Now we'll see this example on a little detailed manner to understand how can you can prevent from putting a lot of efforts for the just sake of a small value. Okay, so when we say the problem of embedding utilities, now we are embedding utilities through either building by ourselves, but or you can say finding out on the package manager. But after a certain period of time, once your you can say project scales, once your code scales, right, once you are serving multiple you can say multiple aspects and domain, uh, your code gets bloated. So if you see, I like to explain the terminologies here. So when we say a bloated, or you can say a bloat, that definition is some unnecessary stuffs that you are adding to your code. Okay, we call it a bloated code base, where the site can be reduced by optimizing the process, or you can say optimizing the way. But as soon as your small projects become scalar, your project size become bigger as well. All right. So whenever we so this is just you can say a simple flow. Whenever you want to include any library, what do? You go npm install and the name of library. What does that do? It actually add that package from npm server to you can see your node modules. But what happens, like let's say if we have added the 10 libraries into the npm module, the size gets more bigger. All right. So in the development environment, it doesn't matter, but when it goes to the production, it actually takes your storage as well, for what you are actually going to pay. Okay. So a little project without embedding the utilities becomes very smaller, but as soon as you try to improve your applications, you can say add the use cases, the large deployment units become bigger and bigger. Okay. So whenever we complete the application, we try to you can say move it to the production, and that's what we call is as a artifacts, deployable artifacts. But that becomes huge and huge. Okay. And to run, okay, we don't have any issue to become making a project bigger, but to run that kind of application with the larger space, you invest your you can say tech resources as well. Okay. So not just tech resources, but more precisely hardware resources, which comes with the ram, which comes with the storage, right? Maybe sometime you can say take the load balancers as well, right? So these are the costs get added, and it gets added into the tech budget. I think this must be clear, because I'm not able to see the chat section as of now, but I will be happy to take the questions at the end. So this is all the flow. Once your applications become bigger and bigger, this is the lower level of problem that developers don't worry, but at some point of time, it counters that, okay, now we need to do something, right? So this is all, and we'll take a example here. Like, it's actually a very legit use case that we have found out. So now here, let's consider a microservice. So for the people who are not aware about what the microservice and the monolithic is, the two level of architecture. So microservices, you actually uh, try to give a smaller chunk of tasks to the different machines, so that whenever the need come, the request goes to that servers, basically that place. Okay. And the monolithic, you try to build everything on the single instance. Okay. So it always divide and conquer approach most of the time, become efficient. But yeah, so for the sake of understanding, the microservices, you actually try to do some task out of your main servers. Okay. So this is where we actually going to take an example. So this is an example of making a payment service. Okay. A payment service, let's say any SaaS application going to use the payment service. Maybe some of you going to build your startup, and you also have to add the payment module, right? So in this example, we are creating a microservice, okay, for performing pdf invoice generation and as well as payment. So once the payment's done, the invoice would be generated. Okay. And since I told this is going to be an atomic operation, so any order will come, this operation has to happen. Okay. This is the very crucial part. So now what happens? Okay, we know that we have 50 items right now. Okay, which if we get the order of the 50 items, that would get catered in the zero point 0.5 version CPU and 0.5 GB of memory. okay, which is more than sufficient for us to have. So we're creating can say a small microservice which will be responsible for that. We are allotting that much resources to it, and it would be sufficient for us. Okay. Now, as I told, after some time, let's say you have added 500 new items. Okay. And with that item, you're adding data as descriptions and thumbnails. So, very basic example, let's say a cloth. Okay. So, let's say a jeans. Okay. A jeans have their own thumbnails, have their brand title, have their description, their prices, and everything. Okay. And that gets executed on that microservice when we are going to bill it. All right. So, upon you increase the quantity, the operation will going to multiply the cost as well. So if you will see in the back end, the operation is getting performed, the computation is getting performed, right? And since we have allotted a very small amount of memory and space, CPU, to that microservice, there might be a highly chances that once a such request come with 100 orders, your microservice will either go down, okay, or you will feel the lag. Okay, it has to be either this way or this way. Okay, now to make sure that this shouldn't happen, okay, let's say some if you see in the second figure, let's say 100 light items come. What you're gonna do is you basically try to scale your resources. Okay, so we know that in the whole month we are getting 10 orders, which is going to be more than the cpu can the cpu can handle. Okay, so what you're going to do is you'll make your computation, or you can say hardware resources available for 1 GB, and you can say 1 core. All right, you increase the resources, right? uh, and what if these things multiplies in the future by multiply by 10, multiply by 20? So you will only have an option to do vertical scaling. Okay, horizontal scaling won't work here because you can't create multiple resources, like multiple microservices for that. Okay, so you will always try to keep that task that done by one microservice only. I am not sure with the cost right now, but basically it will handle everything. But at the end, if this kind of request come, you have to be worried about how you're gonna manage the tech cost and time as well. Okay, so we can't create multiple instances, but what we can do is we can make a vertical scale, and we can increase the resources for that microservice particularly. But again, there is a problem how I am gonna pay for the orders which actually going to won't be an issue with the 100 items. Okay, or if, let's suppose there are 200 or 500 items coming, I'll make my CPU, or you can say resources, available to handle this kind of request. But what I see is this: the request, the orders are not very frequent. Okay, maybe in a month I'm getting that order. Maybe in month twice I'm getting the order. But what I'm paying for is the high amount of resources that I have made available so that it can handle the request. Right. So this is the problem coming here. Even though either you are building, either you are using, we can say, the external libraries, or you can say your own code, the cost has to be bear. Okay. So I hope this actually gives you what the problem we are trying to solve. So here, what the bloated microservice. Whenever we design a microservice, there are two factors, or you can say two elements that we look for. It's always about what this microservice will be responsible for. Okay, why, what are the services going to do, okay, basically. And what is the sizing, okay, like what resources do we assign to the microservice. It totally depends on how much traffic, or maybe how much responsible that microservice is. It's based on developer make the sizing available. Okay, so when we go to the previous example, you have seen that once the once we scale the orders, once we try to scale our use cases, you have to bear the cost of the hardware as well. Okay, in the meantime, so if the payment microservice is also responsible for generating PDFs, it need to be sized according to the maximum, or you can say max item within the order. Okay, this is the problem. You have to make your microservice available for to, you can say, to take the request for the larger amount of orders. Okay, and and as I said, like it should support the maximum threshold, but in that you are actually going to bear the cost of over provisioning the resources. Okay, you are over provisioning the resources for the just sake of handling the largest order, which will come, I don't think, very very less often. Okay, and of course it at the end it will gonna multiplies the cost, and this is the problem. Now so we found out, okay, if we can build yourself, we do have a pros and cons. If we're gonna use someone else code, then also we have a pros and cons. But okay, now what? Is there any solution we have as of now, to so that what I can do is I can focus on my core problems, and rest all of this stuff will be taken care by someone else, right? Or maybe someone trusted service. Okay, and that's how the external utilities services comes into the picture. Okay, so where you are actually going to do all this task, all this utility activities through the APIs, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't, you can say, you don't need to worry about how much amount of orders you are getting for generating this kind of operations, right? Or you can say performing this kind of operations. So and this is here is the catch, this gets interesting when we actually move from you can say from the old tradition to the, I won't say new tradition, but an upcoming paradigm into the cloud ecosystem, right? So the example of lean microservices are, when we were in the previous example of a payment processing microservice, right? So okay, it's all about, okay, if we are getting 50 invoices, 100 invoices, 500 invoices, the services don't need to be vertically scaled. All right. So it was always problem to bear the cost. Okay, and now it doesn't matter how much amount of orders we are getting, because we have a certain service which actually going to take care of this. And I guess what, with standard delivery, is that something else? It's always about demand and supply. So whatever the demand you have, utility as a service will going to make sure that you are getting return of that. Okay, so it's just via passing the information. Okay, so here what we can do is we can we can give all these parameters or headers to the service, and it will give us the invoice. That's all. It's give something and take something. Okay, and but do we have any downside of using this utility services? Okay, when we were using our code, then we had some issues. When we using someone else code, again we have an issues. But what if we are using utility as a service? There are still some issues that we have to solve. Okay, now you made a mindset, okay, now I don't need to be care about whatever the small stuff are. I'll just go and give this to the utility as a service. But what if you're not able to find five use cases that you most require for the application are not available on a single service provider? Okay, this is the question, right? What if the five different APIs that you are looking for are available on five different service providers? So now what it has in the box. Okay, so for any this kind of utilities, like document conversion or email verification, these are very essential stuff that most of the applications use or implement. Okay, what you do is you actually become, or you can say end up in subscribing the multiple vendors. Okay, in the very niche value, it doesn't impact. Okay, but we'll see in the future what happens. Okay, so let's say you are making a subscription for five different vendors, or you can say five different service providers, which is eventually gonna increase the cost and time for you. Okay, uh, you have to provide the payments to the multiple vendors. Doesn't matter if you are using the one API or 10 APIs. Okay, and if you are going to subscribe for the one APIs, let's say you have to, let's say the for the five different APIs you have to subscribe for them as well. Okay, that's okay. The increase cost and time, definitely you have to search on the multiple vendors who are available, who supports my tech stack as well, okay, where I don't need to invest the timings and everything. Okay. And you and becomes very efficient. It's always about how much reliable the resources is, right? You always look upon how it will gonna help me to reduce the pain. So when your application goes on the production, and if like if this thing's not working, that will totally ruin the experience of the user, that you definitely don't wanna you can say don't wanna sign up for. Okay. That is the one pain. And another pain would be, what about my tech stack, what about my standards? Okay. uh, okay, how likely is going to be the chances that everyone is using the standard API format? Is everyone using REST APIs? Is everyone using what we say SOAP APIs, right? What standard is there? Okay, maybe some of them just using GraphQL as well, right? So different vendors, different tech stacks, different standards, again a pain. All right. And then yeah, you end up in subscribing to all, and sometimes you won't even use them as well. Okay. That's again waste of value or waste of money, I would say. And again, when we work for the SaaS, or you can say for the tech people, the data is very crucial. And when we say a data, it's sometimes come with the personal details, company details, even if you're in e-commerce, your very crucial data is your orders, that you don't want to share with anyone who you don't trust, or you can say who you don't have a faith on the compliances. All right. And for this, you also have to look upon all the different vendors, or you can say service providers, who is going to make sure, who is not very have the gain the trust to, okay, this is going to be the safe, right? So four problems: fragmentations, increased cost and time, suboptimal subscription and utilization, and as well as administrating and compliances issue, with the third solution, which is utility as a service provider. Right, now we understood the problem here. So is there any way is there anything in the world have been invented to sort this out for the pain, right? Where we can just focus on our problem statement, or you can say core business logic, and rest of the thing will be taken care by other. And that's how these are the requirements comes in your mind. You made sure that I need this all the stuff. So what do you need? I need one place where I get unified catalog of APIs, where I don't need to be depend on any different service provider. Okay, that actually gonna save my time. Second, you want to use the single subscription. You don't want to add your credit card to multiple vendors. Okay. And increase the cost at the end of the month, or end of the year. So a simple subscription, just how much you have used based on that. Okay. And you also don't need to what I want as a developer, that whatever the service I'm going to use, I have a clear documentation of that. Second, it should support my tech stack, and as well as it have a standard integration as well. Okay. And the very crucial stuff, it should be monitored and managed by someone where I don't need to get involved. All right. So let's say if in your the bloated microservice example, if your microservice goes down, or you can say VM get shut down, you again have to go restart, and you can say reattach to the production environment, right? That's again a pain for the developers, mostly the DevOps people, right? So here comes the solution. The utilities are operated, maintained, and monitored by a single provider, what I want, and as well as the standard integration. Okay. If developers love JSON, right? So REST APIs is always come to the hand, where you have a request, like you use get, post, and these are all the methods to just communicate with the services. All right. So how you can find them, how actually you get this kind of solutions. And here what AppHub comes to the picture. We have understood the problem statement from the uh, from more than, I guess, the founders have been to the early adopter of microservice, and they understood this is the real engineering problems, or you can say real engineering experience that's coming together and how we can solve it. So if I would love to show how Appy Hub can offer the value. So I hope this is visible to all of you. So if you go here and you can just see what kind of, if you are ever try to build an application, the most of the tasks you are going to use, or you can say most of the things you are going to implement, you can find in form of libraries. All right. So from data extractions, data validations, manipulations, image processing, smart data, standard, all the three verticals are getting covered, from generation, validation, and what was that, generation, validation, and transformation, right? So you get all these services where you don't need to be worried about, you can just focus on your problem statement. And with very basic, you just need a little knowledge of how the API works, and we have everything over here. Okay. So this is how uh, okay, I'm not able to get the screen. Hmm. I'm so sorry for the technical issue, guys. Um, are you there? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So this is how the library is actually gonna work. And right. So yeah. This is how the AppyUp comes to the rescue for the developers. And if you have any questions regarding how the you can use the utility as a service for your applications, more than happy to take any questions from the developer outside. And I think really excited to know what are you guys gonna build in this hackathon and how we can bring the value. With that being said, we do have a you can say you know since I believe we can support developers, so you can actually get 5 lakh atoms, we can say 50K atoms for using the promo code as hack nitr. Maybe someone from team can actually put it on the chat section as well. So if you go on the platform, if you just sign up, you can actually use this code so that you can use these atoms for your building an application, right? And this is what we have at Appia, and I would love to know if you have any questions. uh, Being there, you can also join our Discord community, and yeah, that's all.
Thank you so much, sir. Your insights and knowledge were invaluable and helped the event make it a great success. So we'll move on to questions. Guys, if you all have any questions, please put it down in the comments below.
Okay. Either my explanation was good or everyone is so much talented. Yeah.
Guys, we would like to take up questions. Please put it down in the comments below. So by the time we get to the questions, I would like to add a piece of information that as you all are aware that Hack and ITR has the awesome initiative of the leaderboard to encourage everyone regardless of their technical knowledge. The idea is simple that the more you learn, the more points you earn. Here is the code for today's session, which is BOBAFETT. Use the code in the form that has been circulated in the comments down below and rise up in the leaderboard. So our audiences are very happy with the explanations, sir.
All right, thank you. That's I consider this an compliment definitely. So thank you so much. And meanwhile, you guys can connect with me on the Discord as well. So I'm available on the Discords, and if you think that you can use Appium in any way, I would love to see how you can bring value as well, right? And yeah, and I think Prajakta, you guys might be announcing there are track prices for the app here. So exclusive merchandise on the way, right? So if you are gonna build an application using Appy Hub, and as well as yeah, I mean uh, at the end I would like to say just go build an application whatever you have in the mind, and that's what going to help you into the future. That's how I was participating in the hackathon, became a developer, and now here, right? So thank you so much. I think I have took a lot more time, more than given from the organizers. I'm so sorry for that, but yeah, thank you so much, Prajakta. Thank you so much, Hack and Idea team, for inviting me here, and I would love to know how we can bring value on the table for the developers.
Thank you so much, sir. Your contribution to the webinar was greatly appreciated, and we learned so much from you. We look forward to the opportunity to have great sessions with you again in the future. Uh, Okay, so I would also like to thank the organizers of Hack and ITR along with the team of Open Code and GTSC to bring to us this wonderful webinar. I would also like to thank the audiences for giving us your valuable time. We have many such workshops aligned for you in the future. So register at Hack and ITR. Follow us on all our social media handles Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram to stay tuned for regular updates. Keep hacking. Signing off, Prajakta.